celebrating 250 years of America here at Mount Rushmore. What people think of the milestone, plus
Sometimes I think about it as like, what would my life be like if my parents never immigrated here?
The stories of immigrants who now call South Dakota home. And
America's pastime in KELOLAND, what baseball means to small towns, and much more over the next hour.
welcome to KELOLAND Celebrates 250. I'm Perry Groten. It is a special Independence Day this year. 2.5 centuries ago, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. Since then, the past 250 years have been shaped by triumphs, traditions, and troubling times. Over the next hour, we'll revisit some of the chapters that helped tell America's story. We began at Mount Rushmore. The project took 14 years to complete and fully opened to the public in 1941. During this year's milestone celebration, people are returning to the monument or visiting for the first time. KELOLAND's Tyler Lauder takes us to the sculpture in the Black Hills.
When summertime hits, Mount Rushmore typically will see anywhere from 10,000 to sometimes over 20,000 people a day.
Mount Rushmore, as you know, is a destination place. It's an icon of our country. So people, when they have their day at Mount Rushmore, they want to be here early. They want to experience what it's like right away. And the visitation is showing that. We have visitation typically starts 8:30ish.
With this being America's 250th birthday, people are feeling extra patriotic.
So it's extra special this year. I mean, just being here is special, but this being the 250th anniversary of America is just, it's special.
It's part of our country's history, and we like coming here. We love coming to this part of the Dakota, South Dakota, and enjoy the riding. And of course, like I said, we're on motorcycles, so we enjoyed this area. This was our one stop that we wanted to come and do, and glad it is part of America's 250.
Visiting Mount Rushmore can be more than just seeing historical faces carved in stone, as the park rangers are on site to help guide, educate, and help you stay safe while visiting.
Every visitor is different. Every visitor interaction different. They all come to the memorial with different expectations. So meeting those expectations as best we can is what we pride ourselves in doing. And then in advance of that, meeting and then exceeding expectations.
Jeff Smith visited the site for the first time and said the wait was worth it.
I always thought I wanted to get out here and see it. And finally, after 69 years, got part of our family, and we finally got the gumption and ambition and the time to come and see it. And it's everything I hoped it would be. It's beautiful.
Mount Rushmore has a way of connecting with people who once visited the site with their parents and are now sharing this experience again with the next generation.
I just retired with 30 years of service, and so I'm getting chills just even talking about that. And so I think it's just good to keep bringing him back here and make sure that he has a full grasp of what it means to be able to live in America and be able to have a monument like this to celebrate.
When I was here, I was 12, 13 years old at the time, the first time I came, and I loved it then, and I love it more now. And I think it's because you develop a love for America.
So to then continue that with the next generation and then the following generations, because Rushmore's not going anywhere. It continues to be this connection to all of those family histories, because that thing doesn't change.
Tyler Lauder, KELOLAND News.
Mount Rushmore is one of many popular tourist destinations in KELOLAND.
We have been to a lot of places in America, but not to South Dakota, so this was on my bucket list.
The Great American Road Trip continues after the break as we catch up with visitors in eastern South Dakota. Plus,
it's not a battle book. I don't talk much about that. I talk about all the other things that we endure.
A veteran story about Vietnam. It's all ahead when we return. Well, people are loading up their cars and RVs for a summertime getaway, and this year they have extra incentive to do so. The U.S. Transportation Department is urging families to travel America's byways and highways as part of the celebration of the country's 250th anniversary. We catch up with some first-time visitors to South Dakota as they embark on their Great American Road Trip. Bruno Kalfa and his wife loaded up their 2 dogs into an RV for a cross-country journey that started from Vancouver, Canada, and included a stop at Falls Park.
We were passing by and we were just Googling what are the things we must see when we are around, and then we heard about the falls and we just came to check it out. Kalfa
was impressed by the Sioux Falls scenery, but navigating a visit to Mount Rushmore was more challenging.
We missed the foreheads of the presidents. Should have turned left, I turned right and got stuck in between bisons for 20 minutes. So they're just in the RV, checking the tires. Was interesting with 2 pups in the car. It was an interesting moment.
Seeing the country during a milestone anniversary is a family tradition for many visitors to South Dakota.
When it was the 200th anniversary, I remember that one when we were kids, and we've always taken road trips with our family. So that's what we do. We like to drive.
Walking is good too. We found these couples checking out the sights in downtown Sioux Falls.
Yesterday we did the southern part of the Phillips Avenue Sculpture Walk, and that was great. Really nice shops. We both grew up in central Illinois, and it reminds me a lot of some of the towns in central Illinois.
These first-time visitors shared their first impressions of South Dakota.
Pretty flat so far on this end of South Dakota. It's the old sea bottom, right?
Yeah. The people we spoke with say there's something about seeing America, and South Dakota in particular, from behind the wheel of a car that you just don't experience flying in a plane from airport to airport.
It's a better view than from 30,000 feet. It's much more interesting. You see different types of buildings and architecture and geography much better than you would from the air.
You can just experience the landscape. You can stop when you want to. You see something interesting, you can get out.
The Great American Road Trip promotion is expected to draw more visitors to South Dakota during the crucial summer tourism season.
Fingers are crossed that we're going to have a better year than we did last year. Last year was a little flat, so we're really hoping that our numbers are going to go up.
Visitors to the state say they haven't been sidetracked by high gas prices or inflation.
Kind of had that planned ahead of time. We were going, so we have a VRBO, we have a home base, and then we're going to go out to different places from there. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. So we travel pretty economically anyway, so it's fine.
Some people have said we're going to travel anyway, regardless of gas prices. Others have said we're going to go on a 5-day trip, not a 10-day trip. And if they go on those shorter trips, Sioux Falls is perfect for that.
That's why visitors from as far away as Canada are willing to go the extra mile and then some to come here.
Most of the time you hear about the South, the East and the West, to California, New York, Florida, but you don't really get to know the middle of the country, but there's so many beautiful places.
And travelers say there's no better time to soak in all that scenery during America's 250th anniversary.
We grew up in the East where it all began, where the revolution was taking place, and there are historical markers everywhere.
The nation's past provides a roadmap to the present and future whenever people pull off and explore the vistas along their journey. Now, several South Dakota stops made the list on the Great American Road Trip. They include the Corn Palace in Mitchell, Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills, the Pheasant Sculpture in Huron, and Dinosaur Park and Storybook Island in Rapid City. As travelers make their stops in South Dakota, they may be adding the Battleship South Dakota Memorial to their list. I caught up with one visitor who says it's important to never forget the sacrifices made by the sailors who served aboard the USS South Dakota. Brandy Ottenbacher and her husband Tom traveled from Arkansas to see the exhibits inside the Battleship South Dakota Memorial's museum. A sort of trip back in time for the couple.
I'm from here, and so I would visit this museum often, and I just love everything about it. And he's never seen it, so while we were in town visiting, I figured it'd be a great opportunity to spend some of our time here seeing it.
The museum is dedicated to preserving the history of the USS South Dakota, one of the most decorated battleships of World War II.
I got to talk to and seen a lot of the original crew members, and to talk to them and the stuff they brought back, it's just amazing.
Yet the museum itself can sometimes slip under the radar, even among locals.
When I ask people, I say, well, you've driven by it, right, at 12th and Kiwanis? Oh, yeah, we know where it is, but some people don't know that there's a museum there that you can actually visit.
The Battleships Museum helps chart a course of military history for visitors, especially for younger generations learning about the greatest generation.
They don't teach history like they used to. They don't even know that there was a war or who won it. I had somebody ask me that.
The sailors on this battleship fought World War II, and that's what they were out there to do, is to protect the country and save the world.
It's become all the more important to highlight the bravery and sacrifices of those sailors as America observes 250 years as a nation.
I can't imagine had I signed my name on the dotted line and been willing to lay my life down for so many people to just have that be taken for granted. And it's just sad to me.
Now, there's going to be a Declaration of Independence commemoration taking place July 8th, starting at 4:30 p.m. at the Battleship Memorial. The event will also include music by the Sioux Falls Municipal Band. Still to come, the latest book penned by a local Vietnam veteran. And later, the nation's 250th anniversary isn't the only milestone people in KELOLAND are marking.
The biggest celebration this year, I guess, for us is the Little Bighorn. You know, it's 150 years.
An indigenous perspective later in the show. An important part of our country turning 250 years old is the men and women who have served in the military. KELOLAND digital reporter Ray Yost has been researching this story for weeks. Thanks for joining us, Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Thanks, Barry.
Now, what kind of roles have South Dakotans played in fighting wars of the past?
Well, when you think about it, we tend to think of World War II, their contributions there, in World War I, and then the Korean and Vietnam Wars. But we had South Dakotans participate in the Spanish-American War, and then either they were new Dakota Territory residents or they moved here after in the Civil War. So we've had contributions basically in all the major wars, including now the war on terrorism and the Gulf War as well. So the contributions, whether they were in the Navy, Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard, or any other branch, have been pretty significant.
Now, you've got some hard and fast numbers. How many South Dakotans have served over the last century?
Yeah, the best figure I found was about 68,000. Now, I'm doubtful that's going to include the soldiers we've identified from the Confederate or the Union Army, but about 68,000, and that's most assuredly going to include a World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam.
And then you've researched a lot of numbers. What else can you tell us about these veterans who served?
Well, what I found really interesting is, you know, you think of the numbers, but these veterans are people. I mean, you know, they grew up in Bone Steel. They grew up outside of Webster. They might have grown up on a farm in, you know, Day County. But they all contributed in some way, whether they were unfortunately killed in action or they died and their remains, you know, were later recovered. But it's just, these are real people, and I think sometimes that gets lost in the numbers until you start maybe doing a little extra research to find out, okay, what happened to this soldier? What happened? You know, were they able to come home? And obviously, well over 2,000 did not come home.
Yeah. How did you go about researching all this information?
You were really, we really are fortunate in the state of South Dakota. We have a very, very good Department of Veterans Affairs. And we have a very good South Dakota State Historical Society, which had people kind of gather these names and put them together on lists. National Archives are helpful, and then there's these offshoots that you are very, very professional, but they might be fallen heroes lists, or it's a list of honors lists where they list soldiers who have died in the war, and then a little bit more information. So it's just kind of putting all these pieces together from numerous sources, both to kind of check and see if the numbers are consistent, and to check and see if you want to do a little more digging on a person's life.
Okay, thank you very much, Ray. Now, you can read Ray's full story called Right Now on our KELOLAND.com. Well, unless you've been in the military, you may never understand what the people who have served have gone through. That's why one veteran is sharing his story. KELOLAND Summer Ottershot tells us how we can read about his experiences.
Jeff West went into the Army in 1967.
It wasn't long before that journey took him overseas.
I spent a year as a drill sergeant at Fort Ord in Monterey, California. And at the end of that year, I volunteered for Vietnam. And I landed in Cam Ranh Bay in December of 1968 and spent a wonderful Christmas in Vietnam. And that began my combat tour. And I came home on December 5th, 1969.
But like many veterans, what happened overseas took a toll on West. So while in therapy for PTSD, West started to write down what happened to him.
So I had these stories, and a couple years later I thought maybe I should write down the rest of what happened to me when I was in the Army. So my friends and family, mostly family, would understand a little bit more about me and why I am the way I am.
However, with some encouragement, West turned those stories into his first book, Welcome Home, The Army and My Vietnam. This book documents West's 2 years of active duty.
It's not a battle book. I don't talk much about that. I talk about all the other things that we endure. And so it's just kind of a generalized history, but accurate and pretty well researched about Vietnam overall.
His second book was born out of a South Dakota Humanities Council Veterans story writing contest that he won, where he then got to go to a writing class.
It was a class about poetry, which I hate. And I told the guy, I said, I don't like poetry. It takes too much work, right?
But he was soon inspired.
I'm riding my lawnmower and thinking about poetry and Vietnam and whatnot. And I conceived a poem in my brain about my best friend Alex, and got off the mower and wrote it. In the end, 50 were killed or wounded. My friend was hit, a bullet through his head. He wanted to live and survived a week, but after all was done, he was dead. I wasn't there. I didn't have his back. So in the mud at my feet, his friendship lies.
West's book, Looking Back, An Old Soldier's Hindsight, continues to describe the aftermath of Vietnam and some of the mental health complications that came with it. Now, West has finished writing his third book, Vietnam, The War That Keeps Killing.
I belong to several groups that are about Agent Orange and the effects of Agent Orange on exposed Vietnam veterans and the Vietnamese community, of course. And there was so much misinformation and inaccurate information, and I just decided I'm going to research this, and so I can answer some of these questions accurately.
West believes these books are important to document what he and so many others went through in Vietnam.
I think that most people really today, if you're not 50 years old or so, don't have any real concept about the Vietnam War. They don't teach anything in school anymore about the Vietnam War. What I've written is a history, really, of things from a single, old grunt's perspective, but I think it gives people a chance to understand about what we went through and why.
And when people read the books, West hopes people see that he himself was just a kid.
We were called up by our country, and we went out and we did what we were trained to do. We were not celebrated when we came home, and that really was a big issue for almost all Vietnam vets.
Summer Ottershot, KELOLAND News.
Now, West's newest book, Vietnam, The War That Keeps Killing, is set to come out by the end of this month. As the nation marks 250 years, we travel to South Dakota reservations to get an indigenous perspective.
I have to think of my ancestors, and what we went through here as a people.
And later,
the Lord brought us here to Sioux Falls 10 years already.
We meet two South Dakota families who immigrated to the U.S. It's all ahead in just moments. Different Americans will share different thoughts when asked about the United States' 250th birthday. No other segment of the population has had a relationship with the U.S. government like Native Americans have had. As KELOLAND's Dan Centella reports, it's a complicated history marked by not only tragedy, but also survival.
The Rosebud Sioux Tribal headquarters sits in a valley surrounded by vibrant green pine trees. Here, Russell Eaglebear is a cultural liaison with the tribe's president. He once taught in a classroom. Today, he's still teaching about yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
I mean, I'm glad I'm still here and I'm able to still speak my language and still look like a native. Yeah, but an old native now.
There's pride in his voice as he reflects on history. 2026 isn't just the 250th anniversary of the United States. It's also the anniversary of a battle the Lakota and Cheyenne won in 1876.
Little Bighorn. And that's what, you know, we're celebrating 150th anniversary of that battle with Custer.
It's a story of resilience and renewal for our Native nations.
Lisa Whitepipe is vice president of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe. A sign reading Honor Indian Treaties sits behind her.
The battle was not only just a single battle alone. It was about the United States' violation of the Fort Laramie Treaty.
Sherry Plank sits on the Rosebud Sioux Tribal Council. She says thinking about what her ancestors experienced still hurts.
People came and created a country on land you were already living on. It was very difficult. And the atrocities that came from that, colonization, and how it's affected our people is very disheartening. It's hurtful, and I think it's a shameful thing that this country sweeps under the rug. And I feel that there needs to be more acknowledgement towards Native peoples and towards the historical traumas that our people have faced.
One example of that trauma is the Carlisle Federal Indian Boarding School in Pennsylvania.
We had some children who died there. And just recently, we had the opportunity to retrieve them, bring them home, back to their home country. And we still have relatives that were alive that took them and did their ceremony with them and buried them. So those are things that is good for us to make sure that we create a healing process for our people.
We need to teach the people of this country, including Native students, the history of this country, the true history, not a one-sided history.
The Lower Brule Sioux Tribe's land overlooks the Missouri River. For Chairman Boyd Gorno, the 250th anniversary has him thinking about the many indigenous people who've served in the military.
More of a celebration for us in the sense of our veterans that fought for this country.
Some are honored on these granite slabs at the Lower Brule Tribal headquarters.
The biggest celebration this year, I guess, for us is a Little Bighorn. You know, it's 150 years. Yeah. But my son is in the Marines as we speak, and you know, I'm proud of all them who fought for this country's freedom.
When asked about the United States' anniversary, Gorno brings up the celebration planned at Mount Rushmore, which sits on sacred land for Native Americans.
I guess with the fireworks going on in the Black Hills, you know, they ought to remember whose land they're on.
Across the river in Fort Thompson, you enter the land of the Crow Creek Sioux Tribe. That's where we found Dawn McGee, a member of the tribe and a proud Native woman who spent decades in education.
I worked with kids all my life, and yep, I'm proud. And there's a lot of people to be proud of.
North of Fort Thompson, we also found ourselves in a rainstorm, followed by a brilliant rainbow. A short time later, with the colors still shining, we meet tribal member Jeff Swanson. The 250th birthday has him thinking of the people who came before him.
I have to think of my ancestors, you know, and what we went through here as a people, as Hunkpati people.
Swanson is a counselor who helps guide people at the Hummingbird Lodge in Fort Thompson, where relatives can seek and find peace and healing. Life can be difficult here.
It's just hard not to see the struggle and see beyond that. And the starvation still, the alcoholism, the high suicide rate.
But tomorrow, and maybe even today, might be better.
But seeing a rainbow today, that reminds me of positivity, thinking positive, you know, seeing the good in every person, place, thing, and situation, and trying to provide that either through words or actions, or our hand in our community.
Anniversaries sometimes aren't so much about the past as they are about what could still come down the road.
I'm working hard to try and create a better future for my people.
A better future through education.
And you get to see how people prosper when there is good education and teachers.
And civic engagement.
And I think our people really need to well-versed on that so that they can make a difference on a national election and on the state elections, plus our own tribal elections.
I like to have government-to-government consultation and maintain that liaison between our tribe and the government so that we can maintain a good relationship. When it comes to federal funding, our lands, our language.
Our Native voices need to be heard. The tribes need to be heard.
We are here, we are surviving, and we are rebuilding.
Survival is an ongoing process. Along this journey, as these perspectives make clear, there is hope.
It's going to storm on us, but the sun's going to shine on us. I see good days coming. I see healing coming.
Dan Centella, KELOLAND News.
An exhibit at the Old Courthouse Museum in Sioux Falls shares the history and culture of Native people's homelands. KELOLAND's Anya Joseph takes us there.
Gary and Ann Robinson, who live in T, made their way back to the Old Courthouse Museum after some 30 years. Recently, the couple were able to learn about the way Native people hunted, farmed, traded, worshipped, lived, and died according to their customs prior to the arrival of Europeans.
The intricacies, as we look at some of the clothing and the beadwork in there, and how they would make things back then without modern tools and stuff like that. I thought that was something that kind of stuck out to me.
The exhibit was installed 6 months ago, and most of the material showcases the home, artistry, utility, and beauty of the lives of Indigenous people. The display has a number of pieces that are from tribes here on the Northern Plains and from other locations as well.
We have items that were collected from all over the country, from tribes back east to Inuit people in Alaska. So we really wanted to focus on all of those tribes and all of those collections.
Gans says it is when Europeans arrived in North America and expanded into traditional Native people's homeland, their ways of life changed forever. That history still lives on today.
They had a culture that was expressive, and we have the remnants of those. And I think the other important thing about it is to state that these tribes are still here. They didn't go away.
I think it's important that we continue to understand our history, and maintain, the culture that was here before us, which was the Native American culture. And I think it's important we continue on with that.
In Sioux Falls, Anya Joseph, KELOLAND News.
Now, Gans says each exhibit at the museum runs for around 2 years, so the Indigenous America exhibit will run until 2027.
We've built a community here, and it's been great.
What brought 2 immigrant families to South Dakota next? And later, local farmers carrying on their family legacies.
Walking out here in the fields, I see my dad still. I see my grandfather.
We hear from 5th-generation farmers as KELOLAND Celebrates 250 continues. For those who immigrated to America, the country they chose holds a special place in their hearts. KELOLAND's Sydney Hoyer introduces us to 2 families who now call South Dakota their home.
Tens of millions of immigrants live in the U.S., with tens of thousands of them calling South Dakota home. They have come to the United States for many reasons, including refuge. Ruth Perez came to the U.S. when conflict was high in Guatemala.
In 1980, she decided to come to the States, looking for a different life, a better life. At that time in Guatemala was really critical with the guerrillas.
That was Herman Perez translating for his wife, Ruth. Herman was born in New York and grew up in Puerto Rico. He then moved to Nevada, where he met Ruth and they got married. Herman then applied for a visa on Ruth's behalf. She had to go back to Guatemala to wait to be approved.
She go to the embassy, they give us a visa to come legal to the United States, and she's still here.
The Perez family lived in 3 states before coming to South Dakota, where they now live near their 4 kids and 9 grandkids. Herman is a pastor, so the family moved where their ministry led them.
The Lord brought us here to Sioux Falls 10 years already.
Alouette Akut's parents came to South Dakota in 2003.
They've lived in Sudan before South Sudan was established, and then the Sudanese Civil War happened, so there was a lot of conflict and fighting.
Akut's parents didn't exactly choose Sioux Falls, but they have made it their home.
It's not like you get to choose, if you don't have family or anything here, you just kind of get settled here, and we've built a community here, and it's been great.
Akut's older sisters were not born in the U.S., but the 4 younger siblings have only ever called South Dakota home. Her experience as the child of immigrants has shaped her.
I'm a really independent person because I kind of just have to figure it out because they're not fully understanding of the education system and how it works.
Despite those challenges, Akut graduated high school and received a full-ride scholarship.
Next year I plan to attend Columbia University in New York City, and I plan to major in neuroscience and also public health.
Because they immigrated, her parents have had a front-row seat to Akut's success.
They're proud that I put in the hard work. They're not really the type that pressure me no, you have to do this, you have to do that. So I think they're proud to see me taking my own initiative.
Despite the Perez and Akut family's successes, being an immigrant in South Dakota has its challenges. Both Herman and Akut say there is a lack of education about immigrants.
A lot of people think because we are Hispanic, everybody's Mexican. That's not right. That's not true.
A lot of people think that immigration's bad, you're not supposed to come here, but my parents immigrating from to the United States changed my life completely. I think about it as what would my life be like if my parents never immigrated here.
For Herman and Akut, no matter where someone comes from, positivity and unity can bring people together.
Having a positive view on immigration, these people are trying to start over and make better for themselves.
It's amazing how we can live together and praise God together. That's something really beautiful.
In Sioux Falls, Sydney Hoyer, KELOLAND News.
Still ahead.
We've been farming this same ground for over 100 years.
Agriculture is a big part of South Dakota's history, and coming up, we're going to hear from 2 generational farmers about what it means to them.
Plus, we admire the beauty of KELOLAND through a photographer's lens. And America's pastime remains popular today in local communities.
Baseball is the heartbeat of Kenosha.
We head to the baseball diamond later. Throughout our history, agriculture has always played an important role. As South Dakota's #1 industry, so much of our state has been shaped by farmers. KELOLAND's Lawrence Solik talks with 2 generational farmers about what that history means to them.
On this farmland, about 6 miles south of Valley Springs, there are subtle reminders of generations past, from the now fully grown trees planted in the late 1800s to the retired tractors once used to grow crops.
So I'm a 5th-generation farmer. We've been on my place here for about 11 years, and close to family here. My parents live a couple miles away, and we've got a bunch of other family in the area too. And we've been farming this same ground for over 100 years, so it's kind of a heritage.
And Jordan Scott isn't alone in being a generational farmer with a rich heritage in South Dakota. We spoke to Tanner Hento near Avon, who is also a 5th-generation farmer, as he was planting earlier this year.
One thing a lot of people don't know, or maybe don't realize, that is really integrated in farming is how often we reflect on the generations that came before us. Walking out here in the fields, I see my dad still. I see my grandfather, and I see everything that they built.
From the land they cultivate to rural main streets, so much of South Dakota was built and sustained by farmers.
I spend a lot of time with a lot of gratitude, honestly, and realizing how lucky I am to be in the state, to be a farmer, to have everybody that came before me that is allowing this to happen.
And now it's up to Hento, Scott, and every other farmer to continue building on that legacy for the next generations.
We're always trying to get better every day. The technology, there's things that'll be coming that we have no idea about yet. My grandpa never thought about GPS-driven tractors, and now that's all we use every day. So there's going to be a lot of changes, and we're looking forward to seeing what that is.
Lauren.
Still to come on KELOLAND Celebrates 250, a fireworks show. But first, our chief photographer, Kevin Kiergaard, showcases the beauty of KELOLAND.
I got a mission and I think it's cool. Sat here lying like a simple fool. Get a life, get a job after school, alright. Why don't we just run away for a while? Give me gardens, give me something nice. You take my hand, I wouldn't think twice, alright. Someplace that I need to go. Someplace that I can call my home. Yeah, I'm running on hope. I'm running on hope. I'm running on hope. Yeah, I'm running on hope. Street lights are fading, heartbeats racing. Guess I'm the one searching for you. And if you're near me, then it all makes sense. I heard your feet fall as you left. Or is that just a consequence? Who knows? Someplace that I need to go. Someplace that I call my home. Yeah, I'm running on hope. I'm running on hope. I'm running on hope. Yeah, I'm running on home. I'm running on home is where my heart is. Home is where you are. Home is where my heart is, and my heart's with you.
For more than a century, sports fans in communities big and small have enjoyed games at the ballpark. In some towns in South Dakota, baseball isn't just a game, it's an event that brings people together. KELOLAND's Jordan DeSmet shows us how two South Dakota communities enjoy America's pastime.
It's the crack of a wooden bat and the pop of the ball hitting a glove. Those are just some of the sights and sounds you see and hear every summer in small-town South Dakota. In communities like Canova, baseball is everything.
Doing the pitches is number 14, Derek Miller.
Baseball is the heartbeat of Canova. I mean, everybody you talk to is going to ask you how much rain you got last night, and then about the baseball team.
On a night like this one, you'll see the little leaguers all the way up to the adults playing on different fields at the same time.
Everywhere from 4-year-olds to 50-year-olds, all the way through. So it's all generations, and it's pretty cool to see.
This is significantly more people that live in Canova that's here enjoying the baseball games.
There's also a culture of winning, especially for the amateur team, the Canova Gang.
As you can tell by the pennants on our outfield wall, we've had a lot of success here in Canova.
Drive east and you'll find a similar baseball tradition in Garrettson.
There's been a lot of success from Little League to Teeners and Legion and Amateur, and a lot of people involved that have put a lot of time and energy, so yeah, a lot of pride.
Usually there's a lot of fans that come out and watch it, and it's just a really fun organization.
In both Canova and Garrettson, you'll find long-tenured players and some big age gaps between teammates. Garrett Gaspin usually plays catcher for Canova, but he was getting some time at first base when we were there. He's been on the team for 21 years.
I like to fish, I like to hunt, but nothing beats getting to play baseball with family and friends.
Catcher Brady Bonte and infielder Dustin Steckler have each played for Garrettson's amateur team, the Blue Jays, for more than a decade.
My dad coached a lot of baseball, so he kind of took my teams from 10 and under all the way through Legion ball. and just kind of kept coming back.
Both my brothers played right when this first kind of started up. My oldest brother had helped, was on one of the original teams and started it, and then my middle brother started after that, and then I just kind of picked up from there.
Bonte also still plays with one of his brothers.
It's awesome and sometimes, and it's challenging in others, but overall, yeah, it's awesome.
Family is a common theme in Canova as well.
On our amateur team, we have 4 sets of brothers. We have a father and a son. We have multiple cousins. So I mean, it's a family affair, and it's almost like a big family reunion every time we get together for a game.
Players in both Garrettson and Canova had baseball role models they looked up to, and there are young athletes now who look forward to the day they get their turn on the big field.
You see these little kids running around here tonight like tonight, and they look out here at the amateur guys like the professionals, you know.
Which tells you that America's pastime isn't going anywhere.
At the end of the day, it's our community, right? It's where we kind of grew up. It's where baseball has always been a pretty big thing.
We've tried to keep the tradition alive here as long as possible, and we've done a pretty good job of that.
That's all we have. We have a beautiful baseball field. We don't have a pool. We don't have a golf course. We have a baseball field. It means everything to us.
Jordan DeSmit, KELOLAND News.
Now, Canova and Garrettson are 2 of the more than 60 amateur teams throughout South Dakota. From the ballpark to the dirt track, racing is a sport as American as apple pie in KELOLAND. Huset Speedway in Brandon originally opened in the 1950s. It's had multiple owners and looks over 7 decades, but one constant has been the fans.
The noise and smelling the gas, it's all fun to watch.
The race fans mean everything. You know, without them, we don't have a racetrack, we don't have race teams, we don't have race cars.
Racing returns to Huset Speedway on July 12th. People can raise a glass to 250 with a special beer brewed in KELOLAND. Platte Creek Brewing Company in Geddes is selling a special beer for the birthday bash. The Pilsner is called Dakota Liberty. The business was tapped to make the official brew for the state's celebration. When we come back, a spectacle lighting up the night sky. We enjoy a fireworks show when KELOLAND Celebrates 250 returns. Welcome back. There's more birthday bash fun to come after July 4th. On Sunday, America's potluck is planned in towns across the country. Families and neighbors are encouraged to come together to share a meal. At least 2 are planned in South Dakota, according to the America 250 website.
This is an idea that came from Utah. They've set up a website, and on July 5th, Sunday afternoon, July 5th, they're encouraging neighborhoods and groups to get together and just share a potluck.
And we want to thank you for joining us for KELOLAND Celebrates 250. As we say goodbye for now, we hope you enjoy this spectacle in the night sky captured by KELOLAND photographer Mike Simonson.